Good evening. My name is Greg Devine, I'm the principal of Quabbin Regional High School, and I'd like to welcome you to our graduation and just kind of go over some ground rules and some things before we start. Please bear with us. We've never hosted a graduation quite like this before. Our world is a little different and we have to respond to it appropriately. Thank you to everybody for coming in, social distancing, wearing your masks. Please continue to wear your masks during the ceremony. We ask that the students do the same. At the end of the ceremony, the students will process to my right. They'll go out to the horseshoe and go up to their cars. What will happen is you will be dismissed as the observers, one group at a time. We'll try to move it as quickly as we can to get you out of here, but we just need to ensure that not everybody gets up at the same time and kind of has a rush to the parking lot. So that's just kind of where we are. That's what we need to do, and I really appreciate everybody's cooperation. We have wonderful weather. As I said to somebody the other day, it does not rain on Quabbin graduations, and we've been very lucky for the past number of years. At this point, we will begin our ceremony. I ask the marshals to please come to the front of the graduates and have the graduates stand. At this point, it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce to you the president of the class of 2020, Sejali Benoit Smith.
Sorry, I'm a little bit short. At this time, everyone's already standing. Please join me. The adults aren't standing. Would everyone please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may now be seated. The graduates should also sit. Marshals, please take your seats. Welcome, parents, teachers, students, administrators, school committee members, friends, family, aunts and uncles who we call aunts and uncles, but aren't actually our aunts and uncles. Tonight we will make Quabbin history in a lot of ways. We will be the first graduating class to have one-to-one Chromebooks, the first graduating class to lose their spring to a pandemic, and the first graduating class to decorate their caps. It has truly been an honor to serve as the president of the class of 2020. And though this is a night of unity, I would like to put an emphasis on the individuality each of our firsts represents. Being the first class to graduate using one-to-one Chromebooks truly shows how technology envelops our generation. I know many adults feel many different ways about the way that our generation uses technology, but the way that I've seen this class, and specifically the class of 2020 at Quabbin, use social media to express themselves, advocate for others, and inform themselves, truly makes me believe that we are the right generation for this responsibility. The pandemic, however, was not something we earned nor deserved. It was unexpected, unfathomable, and unexplainably devastating. We may be the only class in history that has had the time to step back and analyze who they were as people before they stepped into the world. We learned many things about ourselves while we were in isolation. Some of us learned that we didn't have any hobbies. Some of us learned that we weren't as sure about our sexualities as we thought. Some of us learned that Quabbin's Mexican lunch line was truly the best thing in our lives. More than anything, we learned how to be alone. The amount of strength it takes to remove a social creature, such as an 18-year-old, from every aspect of their lives, to put their studies, their comforts, their friends, and what seems like their dreams aside, is incomprehensible. Our lives halted, yet we not only got through it, we bettered ourselves. In a time when hope was most out of grasp, the class of 2020 grew stronger from the ashes. We committed to our college, we applied to our jobs. We played board games with our families, we exercised, and we fixed bad habits. We learned what it means to care for ourselves mentally, and we advocated for human rights. I ask, on the behalf of the class of 2020, that you don't pity us, but you appreciate the difficulty that we faced and have risen in spite of. The final way we'll make history at Quabbin is our caps. I'd like to extend my most sincere gratitude to Mr. Devine, Dr. Muir, Ms. Hicks, and Mr. Kucheri for granting us the privilege of decorating our caps tonight. Through civil and respectful conversation, community support, and class unity, we showed that we are such a phenomenal force that we could rewrite history. Tonight, we are showing our individualism is unifying. We are expressing ourselves not just as academic achievers, but as artists, dream chasers, music lovers, joke makers, and our own selves. We are individuals, and we are Quabbin graduates. All together, through our trials and tribulations of the past 4 years, each of us with our own interests and attributes comes together to make the graduating class of 2020. Thank you all for being you. I love you guys. All right. That's the speech.
On behalf of the Quabbin Regional High School and School District, I would like to thank all of you for being here today. We have wonderful weather, we have a wonderful class, and over the course of the past 6 months, the world of the class of 2020 has been turned inside out and upside down. We are living in unprecedented times, the likes of which have not been seen for generations. You have missed out on many traditions and activities that high school seniors get to experience. Senior trips, prom, senior banquet, and just being able to spend the final months of your high school education with your friends doing senior things, whatever that might mean. This all came to a grinding halt on March 13th, and we never thought we would still be in the situation that we are in on August 7th, 2020. That all being said, we have much to be grateful for. As I look around me today, I recognize that we should be grateful for our families, grateful for the opportunity to be part of this community, grateful for our health, and grateful for the members of the class of 2020. It is easy for us to forget to be grateful, and we should not. For it is in gratitude that we can recognize the sources of joy, happiness, and security that exist in our lives. Our gratitude can also give us perspective about how fortunate we truly are. For me, this is a source of strength. And when I remember what I do have, I recognize that I can get through almost anything. I am not saying that everything in our lives is perfect. What I am saying is that we need to remember the things in our lives that are wonderful. When you get discouraged and feel overwhelmed by what is coming at you, be grateful for yourself and know that with this gratitude, you can have the intestinal fortitude to persevere through the darkest days. Finally, I want you to know that I'm grateful for you, the class of 2020. I have learned a great deal from you about myself, about you, and about my world. In gratitude, I thank you. You truly have made a difference at Quabbin Regional High School, and I do expect that you will make a difference in the world that you're about to enter. Congratulations to you and your families on your accomplishment. At this point in time, it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce the valedictorian of the class of 2020, Emmeline Riando.
Good afternoon, Principal Devine, members of the school committee, honored guests, parents, friends, family, and class of 2020. Lately, I've struggled to feel patriotic. I told my father this when I noticed the town hall in Provincetown, an LGBTQ+ cultural capital, was lit in red, white, and blue. I found it strange the town would choose to illuminate the hall in our national colors instead of the rainbow, particularly at this moment in the public discourse. I thought to myself, wouldn't the town have a greater connection to pride than to patriotism? Why did the town feel patriotic? I didn't. I had a misconstrued notion of patriotism in my head, that to be an American patriot is to believe that the American experiment has succeeded fully. I don't believe it has. Not when congresswomen like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are verbally accosted on the steps of the Capitol by their fellow congressmen for no other reasons than misogyny and hate. When political divisiveness leaves us disagreeing not just about policy, but about science. And when Black people and other people of color continue to face systemic racism and police brutality, and the supposed land of the free and home of the brave, where we avow that men and women are created equal. The next day, after lamenting the state of the country and my lack of patriotism to my father, I was handed E.B. White's 1976 essay, Reverses of Fortune. White's reflection on America at its bicentennial. Reading this gave me hope. White points out that America in 1976 was also not perfect and had not achieved the future that the founders had envisioned. White, however, counters that what other country is so appalled by its own shortcomings and so eager to atone for its own bad conduct? I think we are all so appalled by America's shortcomings because we want more, not only for ourselves, but for our neighbors too. I realize now that that is patriotism. One way to act on that impulse is protest, a patriotic pastime. After all, irrespective of political belief, protest is American. Our country is the result of protest, and freedom of speech is the very first amendment to our Constitution, and a first principle for Americans. And even now, when things feel like they may be at their worst, we as a nation are not turning our backs and sweeping issues under the rug. We are the ones pointing out and confronting our shortcomings, working to fix what we can, and for a history that we cannot undo, pledging to do better, starting now. For every oil spill, it is American scientists working to engineer a solution to clean it up. For every barrier to education, we have hardworking teachers finding a way to teach content and humanity to our students. For every injustice to minorities, there are millions of Americans, including our very own Quabbin students, breaking out their cardboard signs, demanding equality. Right now, we live in a country divided, but we are a country facing the same looming problems. I don't believe America has failed. The greatness of America is the idea of America, and that has not been eroded. We do need, sometimes, and perhaps at this moment, to be reminded to listen to each other, the simplest act of patriotism. It is hard to listen, and sometimes even painful, but it's also hard to deny the humanity of another person when you really listen to her. It is crucial that we can see the humanity of those with whom we disagree. We must, as President Obama implored in his farewell address, start with the premise that each of our fellow citizens loves this country just as much as we do, that they value hard work and family just like we do, that their children are just as curious and hopeful and worthy of love as our own. Only when we begin with this premise do we have the opportunity to promote the common good and realize the greatness of America. Lastly, in his eulogy for the late Representative John Lewis, President Obama reminds us that the Constitution announces the American intention to form a more perfect union. Each generation gets its own turn to form that more perfect union, and now it's our chance. I trust that the 2020 graduates of Quabbin will be patriotic in our endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmeline. It is now with great pleasure that I would like to introduce to you the class of 2020 salutatorian, Mr. Max LaRue.
Good evening, students, school committee members, parents, and friends. I would like to thank all of you, from devoted teachers to loving friends and family, for being a part of this evening. You have all had a profound impact on the development of the students who will be graduating today, and I feel it is safe to say that I speak on behalf of the whole class of 2020 in thanking you all for your efforts that you have invested in us to this day. One day, you're 17 and planning for someday. And then quietly, and without you ever really noticing, someday is today. And then someday is yesterday, and this is your life. This One Tree Hill quote perfectly describes the last 13 years of our lives, although the last few months have seemed to last an eternity. Although it seems to have gone by in no time at all, everything we have planned for and accomplished has seemed to build up to this moment. The late nights and early mornings, rushing to finish work, the teachers we bonded with who helped us more than they could ever imagine, the teams and clubs that made us who we are, and especially the friendships we built along the way. After all of our planning and hard work, we made it. But as much as graduation is a remembrance of the past, it is also an optimistic look to the future. In the words of Malcolm X, education is a passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Everything we have made it through, especially in these past few months, has prepared us to face any challenge we come across. The lessons we learned, both inside and outside of the classroom, have prepared us well for success in however we define the word. What I believe is the most important thing I've learned is that success is not one size fits all. It seems that there has always been a cookie-cutter idea of what success is for all people. Having a great deal of money has always seemed to equal being a success. However, the idea of success and its traditional definition is changing. Success is accomplishing your goals and creating the life you want for yourself. Finding things that are most important to you and dedicating yourself to them. Whether it's traveling the world and experiencing different cultures, or building a company from the ground up. Whether it's being the change you believe the world needs, getting a college degree, or something as basic as creating a happy, thriving family, it's important to define what success means to you. It has been a long journey to get to where we are today. We've dealt with a great deal of adversity, handled more than enough stress, and procrastinated our way through it all. But we made it. Everything we have gone through has allowed us to grow and shaped us into who we have become. I encourage all of you to seize every opportunity you have in life. Discover what success means to you and put everything you have into achieving that for yourself. I've loved getting to know all of you over the years we have spent together and wish nothing but the best to each and every one. I hope you become the person you dream of becoming and are as successful as you can be in your sense of the word. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Dr. Sheila Muir, Superintendent of the Quabbin Regional School District.
Good evening, honored guests, school committee members, fellow administrators, faculty, family, and friends of the graduates. And most importantly, welcome to the class of 2020. Class of 2020, you've reached an important educational milestone. And I know I speak for everyone here today when I say that we could not be more proud of what you've accomplished and who you have become. You deserve our congratulations. I promise to be brief, and I can assure you I'm not going to reference COVID-19. I specifically decided not to speak about it because I know that you want, as much as any other graduating class, to have a typical graduation from high school. And I can also assure you that I don't harbor any false impressions or illusions with respect to the impact of the superintendent's remarks at graduation. Faculty, family members, and guests are here to celebrate you, and so am I. To start, I'm going to admit that for me, writing remarks to be delivered at graduation is always a very difficult task. As a Quabbin graduate, parent of Quabbin graduates, a lifelong educator, and superintendent of schools, I'm immensely proud of the education that you have received here. I'm certain that you're well prepared for the future success that Max referenced in his remarks. That being said, the educator and parent in me cannot simply congratulate you on your previous accomplishments and let it go at that. I'm compelled to send you off with one final piece of advice as an extra measure of insurance that you will make the choices that lead you to a life that is rewarding and consequential. Although we've provided you with many opportunities to make choices in your time at Quabbin, and with your family members, have tried to guide you to make the right decisions, the number of choices that you'll be faced with will increase exponentially as you take your next steps. I imagine the idea of having so many choices and gaining more independence to make those choices is both exciting and daunting. How is it possible to ensure that you're always choosing the right path, the path that will lead you to your dreams? I believe two answer that, excuse me. You must start by examining your personal core values. What are your fundamental beliefs? Do you believe in commitment, citizenship, integrity, curiosity, justice, equity? Ask yourself what you believe deeply in, what you will not compromise on, and what you will stand up for, even when it becomes incredibly difficult to do so. Write your core values down. Then ask yourself how you will use those values to live in such a way that you are actively making the world a better place. What does living by your personal core values mean? It means that no matter what, every action that you take is aligned with what you believe. This is no easy task, and honestly, it's unlikely that any one of us is able to achieve this 100% of the time. What's important, though, is that when you falter, you reflect. And you ask yourself what you could have done differently and promise yourself to do better the next time. Roy Disney, co-founder of Walt Disney Company, once said, "When your values are clear, making decisions becomes much easier. The myriad of small decisions and seemingly insignificant decisions that you will make every day are not insignificant at all. In fact, they're the very things that will define you in the eyes of others, shape who you become, and lead you to a life that is fulfilling and meaningful." Leave here tonight as graduates of Quabbin Regional High School, knowing that you are prepared to create the life of your dreams. Stay true to your core values and actively contribute to the improvement of our world. We look forward to hearing of your future success. Mr. Lee Willanen, Chairman of the Quabbin Regional School District Committee, will follow me at the podium to make his remarks before we begin the distribution of diplomas. Before Mr. Willanen speaks, however, I will close by fulfilling my official duty to certify the class this evening. Mr. Willanen, I certify that the members of the class of 2020 before you today have met all of the requirements set forth by the Quabbin Regional School District Committee and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Good evening, everybody. And yes, if you can read the program, I am the last speaker. First of all, on behalf of the school committee, I'd like to congratulate all of you upon your graduation this year, the Quabbin class of 2020. When I graduated high school, we were in the midst of the Vietnam War. And at that time, people, everybody, all the experts were saying how this war would define my generation. The last couple of months, I've been reading a lot of articles by people that are claiming and stating that this pandemic we're going through will define your generation, and I've read articles that especially say how it will hit the class of 2020. Let me tell you something. A date or dates in time do not define you. An event, no matter how serious, does not define you. A bunch of talking heads, whether they're smart talking heads or stupid talking heads, they do not define you. You define yourselves. You define yourselves in many ways, by the clothes you wear, by the company you keep, by the choices you make. Now, were you dealt a bad hand this year, your senior year of high school, your graduation year? You bet you have been. It's been a very bad hand, and you have a couple choices you can make. You could throw that hand in, you could walk away, you can say, I quit, that's it. And maybe pull one card out of that hand. And what would that card be? That card's the sympathy card. And if you want to play that sympathy card for a couple of years, you could do it. I don't think anybody would blame you, but all you're going to get is sympathy. Or you could sit there with this bad hand and look down at the chips that are in front of you, because you all have a lot of valuable chips in front of you. And these chips represent everything you've done in your life to this moment. They represent the families you have. They represent the friends you've made. They represent the education you've had here at Quabbin. They represent the life experiences that you have had. And I'm hoping that you will sit there and say, hey, I've got a bad hand, but I've got a lot of good chips in front of me. I'm going to play through this hand and the next hand and the hand after that. And you have one chip that's a very important chip, and it's the lifelong learner chip. And that's something we push here at Quabbin, we've done for years. And that's the chip you can play time after again. And every time you play the lifelong learner chip, it becomes more valuable, and it makes you more valuable. And I'll be the first to admit that when I speak with people, mainly outside Quabbin, and we talk about education, and I say, you know, it's a big push that we want our kids to be lifelong learners, I'll get a rolling of the eyes and the pursing of the lips and the old, oh, gee, isn't everybody a lifelong learner? And that is so not true. Not only are people not lifelong learners, but a lot of them who start out, they quit. They quit after high school. They bail out in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. It's not easy being a lifelong learner. And I hope that as time goes on, from this moment, that you choose to define yourself as a lifelong learner. Now, there's a movie I've seen way too much lately, and I'm sure everybody else is in the same boat of sitting there maybe at midnight just flicking through the TV, and I will get to see this movie, and I'll say, oh, The Martian is on again. And it's become one of my favorite movies. And the reason is because it has a lot of life lessons. And I hope to be lucky if I see it at midnight and there's no commercials so I can get to bed by 2 o'clock. But towards the end of the movie, Matt Damon, who's the Martian, and I'm not going to give any ending away, but he goes through a little soliloquy that I think is important for what lifelong learners do. And he essentially says that you're going to come against something that's just set against you that seems so impossible to conquer that you want to throw your arms up and just quit. And then he says, or you can begin. You do the math. You solve one problem, then you solve the next problem. And once you solve enough problems, you overcome that impediment that was in front of you. As the chair, for a number of years, I've signed the diplomas of many students. And I just want to tell you that I am very proud to have my signature on the diplomas of the class of 2020, because I think you all have the opportunity and the drive to go out and do good things. One good thing would be to invent some sort of air conditioning under these robes. I'll leave you with the words of another space traveler who went way beyond Mars in his movies. And these 4 words are one that have made him pretty famous. And I will say to you as you leave Quabbin, live long and prosper. Once again, congratulations.
At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Willanen and Dr. Muir to come up and prepare to distribute the diplomas. If the marshals could please step forward and prepare the first row. And again to the graduates, as you come forward to receive your diplomas, Mr. Willanen will place the diploma on the table. You will come around the front of the table, pick up your diploma, then you will proceed forward to have your picture taken and go back to stand at your seat until the marshals seat you. Marshals, please raise the first row. Carrie Ann Marie Adamski. Tegan Rose Allen. Brent Kenneth Amadon. Lucas Robert Anderson. William John Bassignani. Ellie Conlon Bedard. Anna K. Beard. Christopher Mark Bibick. Haven Lee Bishop. Jade Elizabeth Blatt. Curtis William Bolger. Joshua Jordan Boucher. Felicia Aaliyah Boudreau. Kyle James Booton. Cassie Elizabeth Broberg. Robert Maxwell LaRue. Emmeline Grace Rando. Connor James Foreman. Ryan Michael Patterson. Sedgley Grace Benoit Smith. Alicia Rose Martineau. Marshals, please seat the first row. Please rise the second row. Tanner Mitchell Bonaconti. Marianne Burke. Gregory Stephen Burnett. Alexander Isaiah Cardona. Our next graduate, Tyler James Chamberlain, will be presented with his diploma by his mother, Mrs. Deborah Chamberlain of the Quabbin Regional School District School Committee. Rebecca Ann Chilton. Anthony Michael Cicero. Michael Aaron Clifford. Jadlyn Marie Coleman. Samuel Dominic Coppolino. Tori DeLynn Crevier. Zachary James Culver. Danielle Elizabeth Day. Connor David Dogalowitz. Jacob Peter Dubois. Lily Rose Eaton. Kayla Nicole Ellithorpe. Megan Kaylee Ennis. Jared D. Erickson. Olivia Lynn Fay. Marshals, if you could please seat the second row. Please rise the third row. Morgan Lynn Fleischer. Lindsay May Fletcher. Jessica Ann Freeman. Samuel Jonathan Gagnon. Emilia Maeve Gillis. Olivia Marie Georgie. Bryn Elise Goodfield. Daniel J. Grady. Sierra Marie Graves. Lily Elaine Hanks. Seamus Xavier Harper. Cassandra Ann Harrington. Anthony Carol Harvey. Nicole Marie Hazel. Noah Richard Herzig. Dylan Robert Hoekstra. Katie Lynn Holgerson. Ward Maurice Holloway. Emily Ann Hood. Mackenzie Lynn Hosley. Abigail Nicole Eichenen. If the marshals could please seat row number 3. And now please raise row number 4. Catherine Ann Jablonski. Eric Everett Thomas Jackson. Cecilia Claire Januszewski. Croy Michael Jenkins. Hector Don Johnson. Hunter Brian Keggins. Crimson Jade Kelly. Sophie Fuhua Emerson Kiley. Caden Mackenzie Parker King. Cameron James LaBruce. Nicholas Ray Lambert. Olivia Trask Lapati. Lexia Lee Laviolette. Lindsay Elizabeth Lesor. Luke Henry Lesor. Jenna Diane Lindhorst. Lauren Corrine Lomax. Maya Ryan Malone. Stephanie Larson Marcoux. Abigail Mackenzie Marsh is being presented her diploma by her father, Mr. David Marsh of the Quabbin Regional School District School Committee. Austin Gabriel Mongen. The marshals could please seat the fourth row. Please raise the fifth row. Isabella Jordan Monteverde. Griffin Robert Murch. Avery Rose Oldakowski. Grace Elizabeth Pellegrino. Hannah Paige Perrin. Samantha Faye Prentice. Evan Jacob Prispek. Joseph Vincent Pusateri. Isabella Elizabeth Quink. Aaron Lee Riker. Emily Alyssa Rio. Anthony Michael Robidoux. Jasmine Rose Spencer Rocheleau. Sarah Elizabeth Rowell. Dakota M. St. Hilaire. Samuel R. Scarpato. Gabriella Nicole Seitz. Spencer William Servideo. Georgia Estee Champagne. Helena Jennifer Champagne. Matthew Richard Shepard. At this time, I would ask the marshals to please sit the fifth row. And please raise row number 6. Alexa Nicole Siciliano. Emily Opal Spear. Emma Natalie Stoddard. Brooklyn Ann Stolgaitis. Alicia Marie Swan. Seth Allen Talbot. Devin Ashante Thomas. Caitlin Elizabeth Thompson. Alexia Jordan Toper. Emily Rose Tupin. Nathaniel Charles Vega. Ava Madeline Walker. Elliot Joseph Walsh. Jacob Stephen Warburton. Benjamin K. Wea.
Oh yeah!
Morgan Benjamin Whitney. Ethan Thaddeus Victor. Kaylin Elizabeth Wilcox. Michael Allen Willard. Lauren Stephanie Wojcik. And Ashlyn Nicole Zajac. Marshals, if you could please seat row number 6. The marshals, you may go to your seats. In closing, I have a lot of people that I need to thank for making this possible this evening. First of all, I would like to thank the committee that met in May to make the decisions about how to handle the graduation ceremonies this year. That was very important. It included our police chief, our fire chief. It included members of the class of 2020, included administrators, and they did a fine job of managing when and how we could have our graduation ceremony. So thank you to them. I'd also like to thank the class advisors, Lisa Packinen and Molly Zuka, for all their help, also participating in that process and for guiding the class of 2020. Special thanks to the people that worked with us tonight to manage this event, Mrs. Sue Musnicki, Ms. Cindy Kovac, Mr. Steve Nikora, Jason Gilmartin, and Janet Hicks for helping manage our event. Thank you to them. I'd like to thank Mr. Peter Lewis and Tony Brown for providing us with music. I'd especially like to thank our Information Technology Department, along with Michael Brooks and Ms. Linda Chilton, for providing us streaming services for tonight's ceremony. Without them, that could not be done. I'd like to thank Mrs. Suzanne Durand, who has worked with the school for literally decades, providing photographs and pictures for our graduations and our students. You have a flyer in your program that will let you know how you can access the pictures that were taken here tonight. Thank you, Mrs. Duran. In a special way, if you turn to your right over your right shoulder and look at those people standing on the far hill, those are the teachers that came here tonight to congratulate your sons and daughters upon their graduation. And in a special way, I want to thank the teachers at the Quabbin Regional High School for all of their efforts on behalf of your children. In a special way, I'd like to thank our facilities department led by Mrs. Claire Barnes. Through their endless efforts, we have a wonderful school facility, we have a wonderful campus, we have a wonderful building, and we have a wonderful event. They worked tirelessly to make sure that this went without a hitch. Thank you to Mrs. Barnes and the facilities. I'd like to thank the Barre Police Department, who are assisting us tonight again in helping make sure that this is a smooth running event. They've been very helpful over the years and this spring in terms of facilitating everything that we need to do. In a very special way, I would like to thank the secretarial staff of the Quabbin Regional High School. Mrs. Nita Bates has worked greatly over the past few weeks and months to put this graduation ceremony together, and she had the help of Ms. Jessalyn Lapati, Ms. Sarah Ferragamo, Ms. Margaret Cooley, Ms. Julie Tucker, and Ms. Patty Stoltz. Thank you to all of them for their help regarding the graduation. And finally, I'd like to thank the Quabbin Regional School Committee. We have one of the most dedicated school committees that I have ever seen. They work very hard to make sure that your children have had a quality education with quality access. Without their advocacy and diligence, we would not be able to produce the fine graduates that we have here before you. So special thanks to the Quabbin Regional School District School Committee. At this point, I would ask the marshals to please come to the front of the graduates and raise the entire class. If Mr. Ryan Patterson, the Vice President of the class of 2020, would please come forward for the moving of the tassels. So you should watch Mr. Patterson as he moves his tassel from one side to the other, commemorating the fact that he is now a proud graduate of Quabbin Regional High School. You may please do the same. Thank you, Ryan. I present to you the Quabbin Regional High School class of 2020. At this point, the marshals are asked to come together and lead the class in a procession across the lawn and out. We also ask that all the parents and families please stay seated until they're dismissed. That way we can do this in an orderly fashion. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and congratulations once again to the class of 2020.